Hey you guys. Interesting little video, this one. This don't even know how to describe it other than to say ignore the engines, right? Well, don't ignore them. You can use them. They can teach you stuff. They can help you to find weaknesses and stuff like that. But engines don't get chess. They just don't get it. And the reason I'm saying this is because this morning I've played one competitive game. And you can see here the game review summary, right? Apparently I played with 76 accuracy. My opponent, who was 1571 or 1581 at the time, played with 32 accuracy, but that doesn't mean crap because it was a brilliant game. I mean, it was a brilliant game. It was one of the most enjoyable, one of the most tactical games that I've ever played, and a hugely satisfying win, as you can see, for white at the end. But what, I mean, look at the graph. What a roller coaster. What a ride. Okay, so I'm going to take you through this game, and Stockfish, you don't know crap. You really don't know. You don't know jack. If you're around in the late 90s, you might know that reference. There used to be a game called You Don't Know Jack. One of the first kind of multimedia flash-powered games. Anyway, you probably don't even remember Flash, half of you either. Anyway, it used to be called Future Splash. There's a nerdy thing for you. 5 blunders for white, 5 blunders for black. Doesn't mean shit. Let's go. Right, here's the game. And I mean, you know, like some games are like elegant sword fights, you know, they range all over and pieces are flying around and stuff like that. The first half of this game was not like that. The first half of this game was like 2 people on the floor, wrestling, biting, eye gouging. That's how it felt. It was brutal. So we'll look at the game and then maybe we'll take a look at the analysis. But why? Because Stockfish you don't understand chess, right? This is, we play chess because it's beautiful, right? It's competitive, it's fun. It's, you know, it's got so much variety, it's so interesting. Engines can't understand that. The Stockfish should have turned around. If Stockfish understood chess, it should have turned around and said, you two, you're legends. What a blooming game. Okay, now, I have to confess, I forgot my opening theory in the Vienna at the start of this, which led me into all kinds of trouble. Okay, so e4, e5, knight to c3. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm in two minds. I really want to play somebody, you know, almost 1600. And the knight comes out, so we get the Vienna Gambit line, and I know now that if he plays the best move, which is d5, I've got ideas for how to counter that. There is like an aggressive line in that. I think you take, and then bring the queen out to f3. Anyway, he plays the quiet d6, and this is actually inaccurate already. It's a poor move. Now, what I should have done is play knight to f3 and develop, and put 2 attackers on this pawn, right? And still he might have the opportunity to capture, and then I can maybe play d4 and get a good game. I forgot that, and I captured on e5. I thought, look, wing pawn for centre pawn, what can go wrong? Well, strap in, and let's find out. Join me for what can go wrong. Okay, d takes c5. And this looks all straightforward. I've got 2 central pawns. He's only got 1 central pawn. So my f pawn has now been promoted to an e pawn. Happy days. So I develop my knight now, right? The difference that move order can make. Okay, he brings out his bishop. Okay, and I'm like, we've got a live one here, boys. Yet I'm unconcerned. Look, free pawn. Hurrah! Queen comes in now, threatening both my knight and checkmate on f2. Right? So there's a reason why the engine might say, you know, even though it doesn't actually understand chess, all it can do is calculate, right? It's just a big ass calculator, really. There's a reason why it says don't take the pawn, play knight to f3, because it's to avoid this situation, because it can calculate that far ahead. I can't, because I'm just normal, and I'm made of flesh and blood. So what do we do? Is it possible to save the knight and defend against checkmate? Yes, there is one move. Yeah, one move. I can't bring my knight to here defending that square, because knight can take, and then if queen takes, queen takes, then it's going to be that, and that's not very nice, but it might have worked. Anyway, so I bring my knight back to d3. He out flies the other bishop, right? Now attacking my queen, and my queen's got nowhere to go, so I block with this bishop, okay? So a lot of these moves I'm thinking a minute 20, 58 seconds, minute 4. Right, he grabs the pawn, I recapture, queen captures, right? And now it's like we are trying to fight in a telephone box, right? It's insane. I can't even castle because this square is covered, right? I'm just being surrounded here. So I grab off his bishop and try and neutralize the situation a little bit. Queen now comes in and takes g2, right? Threatening my rook. Now there's only one way to save the rook. I play rook f1. Thankfully he hasn't got a dark square bishop anymore, otherwise it would be horrible. Now, I'm calculating for like a minute on all of these moves, right? I'm down below 24 minutes already. So I'm thinking, well, okay, the queen can't go there, the queen can't go there. If the queen takes the pawn, what have I got? Okay, so now he comes in with the bishop. That's okay, but it means that my bishop now cannot abandon e2. So how do I get my queen out? How do I get my bishop out, right? I can't capture this pawn, by the way, because queen is guarding that. So my knight comes back. So my plan is bring my knight here, fork these two, and at least eliminate one of these pieces. I am actually a piece up for a pawn. I'm +2 right now, okay? But I have a pawn that may not be long for this world. Okay, he now castles, and I fly in there with f4, attacking, forking the queen and the bishop. Queen takes, right? But if I take the bishop now, queen g3 is checkmate. Right, almost checkmate. Actually, my knight could block. Right, so we might check that one. So I play rook here instead. Maybe a mistake. Queen comes here. Bishop has to block. It's like I'm just parrying blows on all sides. It's insane. Rook comes across with check, and guess what? Knight comes back and eats it. Look at my king. It's just, this is ridiculous. Like, where's my development? I'm just shut down. I mean, I'm in a straitjacket here. It's horrible. Yes, I'm slightly ahead of material, but I've lost 4 pawns. I've lost all of my kingside pawns are gone. Right? Well, I do have an extra bishop. So now he develops his knight. Right? Now I'm thinking, I have to get the queen out. I've got to do something. And if I can get the queen out, then my king might have an escape square. Right? This is desperate times. Rook comes flying out. Now look, we've said this a lot. Material is immaterial if you're not using it. Okay? Look at my opponent. Look at what he's attacking with. Queen, bishop, both rooks. His king's safe. And his knight could come in and join the fun at any time, right? I'm up in material, but I've got a rook still in the box. I've got a bishop still in the box with no way out. I've got a queen that's only just found a way to get out into the game. Okay, so out comes the queen, thankfully. Right, so doing a couple of things. Yes, it's attacking this because the knight's now blocked the queen's defense. It's also attacking that. So my idea is queen takes f7 check. King moves away, right? Should this rook ever move, I can actually capture that rook and mate him. So he trades now his rook for a knight. Okay, I mean, what choice have I got, really, quite honestly? Okay, now rook e8 check again. That's okay. King back to d1, right? Now I could just lose material here, right? So should he do that? Now, if bishop takes bishop here, I think I would probably just have to retreat. Or take the bishop queen there and then retreat, something like that. And then the queen's going to come back up here with check. Right, it's going to be horrible. I'm going to be stuck in this corner now. Okay? Anyway, but for some reason he decides to throw in a check there. I run away to here. Now he comes here and assaults my queen. So I block with c4. Right, huge mistake. Now, I was watching this the whole time. I saw the royal fork, but I knew I was okay because I had my pawn guarding that square, right? I knew I had options here. I looked at blocking with the pawn, which turned out to be a blunder, right? I looked at blocking with the bishop. Then bishop takes, queen takes, you know, knight out to there, what's going to happen? But I made absolutely the wrong move, and down goes the queen. However, I get to capture with the h-pawn, and my king is in a little bit of a kind of a turtle shell here, right? I can't say the king is feeling comfortable, and I'm actually down 3 points now in material. But I have both rooks, I have both bishops. The board is wide open, right? So, I mean, what would you take at this point? I think from the analysis, it should say that white is crushing, sorry, black is crushing me. But two rooks, both long-range, high-speed pieces, they can cross the board in a blink of an eye. So can the bishops, right? My opponent has one rook, one bishop, one queen. So I've got one more piece than black has. And so, I mean, you have to fight on, right? So now queen comes into g1, attacking the rook. So, rook moves up, and I carefully put it on a dark square so that this bishop can't attack it. Okay. Queen comes up now to g5, attacking the rook again. d3, discovered defense. Also creates possibilities of moving the rook at some point. If I can move the rook with check, happy days, I'll get the queen. All right. Queen moves again. And these pieces stay in this arrangement for some time, from my memory. Well, certainly some time on the clock. Notice I'm down to 16 minutes, he's on 17 minutes now. So queen's coming there with check, I have to retreat the king, putting the king on a dark square. He pushes a pawn, I move my bishop to d2, which ensures that this bishop now is double defended. Right? I've also got ideas of maybe slipping the bishop in there, and maybe attacking this guy, right? He pushes another pawn, h5. I think he's feeling like his queen's relatively safe there, maybe has threats, the bishop's defended, everything's kind of solid. So he's thinking all I have to do is just bed down, get my pawns up the board, and squeeze the life out of white. White, on the other hand, has other ideas. Bishop g2, it's undefended, but it's attacking a loose pawn. c6 defends the pawn. Bishop now to here, where it is now defended, and it's half attacking that pawn that is defended only by the queen. So g6. Now rook to g1 pins this pawn. Okay. Now this is a pattern that you've got to know. This is a pattern that you should recognize. Now, if this pawn were not defended by Her Majesty, then the idea here is bishop takes, and the only defender of that pawn is itself pinned, right? Now, remember this because it comes in useful in a moment. Right, now, bishop comes to f5, where it is defended, and this is where your goldfish comes in, guys. Goldfish is not just for spotting undefended pieces, right? So goldfish is this, right? You draw an arrow for every defensive relationship. Well, rooks don't normally count. Well, rooks, you normally don't do rooks, okay? This pawn's defending that, that's defending that, that's undefended, so I highlight it. The queen is defended actually by the rook, and the queen's defending the rook. Okay, don't bother with the king. So that's goldfish. Now, this isn't just for finding what's undefended, it's also for saying, well, what's defending what? For example, this pawn is the only defender of that pawn, okay? This bishop is defended by the queen and that pawn. However, this pawn here is pinned, okay? So it isn't actually defending that pawn, and it isn't actually defending the bishop. So the bishop is currently defended only by the queen, okay? So you can delete defensive links or defensive relationships that are where the defender is pinned, okay? Now, my opponent now plays, I play rook e1. I've been looking for this move, okay? Because, especially from earlier on, I was waiting for the queen to move so I could take the rook, and if these pawns were back where they started, I could have had a checkmate there. But now I'm thinking, actually, you know, the queen can't move and defend the rook. Oh yes, she can. b8. Look at that. Good move. Now, very important question. Okay, so actually, by the way, in doing that, I've unpinned that pawn. Very important question. Do I, after the queen moves back here, do I trade rooks? Now, my thinking was, I need my bishop pair, and honestly, I need my rooks. So I decided not to trade at this point. I'm down in material. I'm actually -3 on the scoreboard, points-wise, in material value, nominal value. But I just figured that having both rooks, being able to control more of the board than my opponent, was actually more important, you see. So right now, this queen isn't actually controlling that many squares, right? So what you do is you draw or you select which squares the piece can go to, including squares that it's defending, because that's important, and pieces that it's potentially attacking. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, by the look of it, squares that queen controls, okay? It's not controlling these ones beyond, right? It's not, it can't, okay? So all of these, it's not controlling, okay? Now, look at my rook has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not great, right? This rook, lots and lots of squares, okay? Not the square it's on, but, you know, that's the power of a rook. So what I need to do is I need to maximize my control of the board. So my next move is to move my rook back. Now that the queen has actually put herself in a place where she's got less control and less vision, I put my rook back here, now re-pinning the pawn. And black now blunders. Rook to d8. So what's the move? What's the pivotal move now for white? Pause if you need. Rook takes f5. He's blundered his bishop. Why? It was defended, but the piece that was defending it is now re-pinned. Okay, so now I even have rook takes h5 as well. Same story. Okay, and now I feel like from this point in the game, I'm starting to feel like I'm actually in the ascendancy. Right, so I do go ahead and capture on h5. I also have this as an option. Again, the pawn can't take because the pawn is pinned. Too bad. Pawn takes, b takes, queen comes in. Now, I see your plan. You want to capture on d3 and decimate me. I can't allow the queen to come in. Bishop back to e2. I could have played my bishop here, but then what about f5? And my bishop has to abandon the defense of the pawn, so this is preferable. This is better. Queen comes across, now attacking the bishop. Rook retreats, defending the bishop. And also just getting rid of the possibility, you know, if I ever forced to move this rook, I could find myself losing that rook if I unpin the pawn. So let's just, you know, knuckle down. Now, bishop c3. And what is the threat, boys and girls? Pause if you need to. What is my idea? And does black notice my idea? All right. My plan is rook h8, checkmate. Okay, because the bishop is covering that square, the rook is covering all of these. Right. That is similar to a dovetail mate. Okay. So the king can't come here. Okay, so dovetail mate might be like the king here and then like queen comes in there or something like that. Right, so queen here guards all of these. And that's a dovetail mate where the king is stuck in this like corner, like a dovetail joint. Okay. So black spots it, king moves. Rook f1 check. Pushes again. Now I seriously had to consider the idea of, again, rook h8, king moves. I could have grabbed the rook, forced the king to recapture. Now then it's a rook and 2 bishops against the queen. Should be okay. I'm only +1 in material here, but anyway, so I throw in that check first. Now I do this. Now the king comes here, and now I play rook h7 with another check. I don't know exactly what my opponent's going to do. He does have a few options. He comes out here. Rook e1. It's defended by this bishop, notice. And my idea is, if this king ever stumbles onto a light square, I have a bishop check with a discovered attack against the queen. Okay, so I'm still fighting here, still fighting. I don't want to trade rooks, so I pop my rook up to h8. What's my idea? a8, takes a6, skewer the king. Okay, my opponent is now down to 4.5 minutes. Okay, from being in a dominant position, he's now really having to think. So my job here is to make him think. My job here is to turn the tables and do to him in the second half of the game what he was doing to me in the first half of the game, and just keep the blows, keep the threats coming in from every angle, like King Kong on the top of the Empire State Building, yeah? There we go. Rook a8 anyway. Okay, because I'm conscious, I want to use the clock as a weapon now against my opponent. Okay, here. And I've got now an idea. There's a possibility here of like using my bishops if I can. So this bishop to here, it's undefended, but it's guarding all of these squares, right? And then how about even bishop here, where it's defended then by the rook because the other bishop's moved and controlling all of these squares, and the rook's controlling all of these squares. It's almost checkmate. Almost, but not quite. Until the queen comes across here, and now actually there might be a missed win, because let's say bishop here now, right? He can only block with the rook, which isn't great, block with the queen, which isn't great, right? Or he can't go here. He's in check and he can't go there, so he has to go to there or there, right? And then bishop to here. Actually, X-ray defends the rook through the king and covers these squares. Checkmate, my friend. So that might have been an option. I missed it at the time. I saw it after I played it and went in for a different tactic. Rook now to a1 with the idea of this, with a pin on the queen, winning the queen. Okay. My opponent now plays king across, and now I launch this one, right? Beautiful check with an X-ray defense of my own piece through the opponent's piece. I love these moves. And now bishop does come in here. Okay, so what's he got? What's he got? The best move here is to block with the rook, surely. But now I don't even take the rook. I capture on a6. My opponent's down to under a minute. Capture on a6, attacking the queen, because here's the thing. Yeah, okay, capturing the rook is winning, right? But the rook has pinned itself, okay? By interposing itself, by throwing itself in the line of fire to protect the president, okay? He's pinned himself. So this rook cannot move. It cannot legally move. The rook is out of the game. You are out of the game, right? Out. So to pile on the pressure and the pain, rook takes a6, rook 8 takes a6, attacking the queen, which is well, it's defended by the king, actually, only. This rook can't move, okay? So we have takes, rook still can't move, it's frozen in time, and my opponent actually resigns with 35 seconds left on the clock. Now, here's my point, right? Stockfish doesn't get it. So if you want to go out there and play beautiful chess, and I think that was a beautiful game. I think my opponent was a demon sent from hell in the first half, partly because I screwed it up, right? But I dug deep, and it was sport. You know, when sport is really, really good, you know, that's why we watch sport. The Indian cricket team, my God, decimated England in the test at the Oval just now. It was beautiful to watch, and you've got to applaud it. Even though I like support England, you know, I'm not Indian, but you know, well done, guys, well done. I remember once watching a game of darts. It was the World Darts. It happens like every January, I think, in the southeast of England, the lakeside, and this was about 1996 or something like that. And I remember the commentator, it was just such a fantastic final, right? Or such a fantastic match. That it was edge of your seat stuff. And this is guys throwing little arrows at a board, okay? But it was brilliant. And I remember the commentator saying, and if you didn't enjoy that, you don't like sport. And I thought, damn right, my friend, damn right. And you know what? Stockfish doesn't like sport. It's just a giant calculator. That's all it is, right? It doesn't understand beauty. It doesn't understand the romance of chess. It doesn't get it, right? Yet it can calculate that white was winning, black was winning, white was winning, black was winning, and white was winning, right? That's all it knows. But it is soulless. It has no heart, has no spirit to it. Let's see what, though, we can learn from Stockfish. Okay, book. F4, book move, right? Slight edge to black because of the best move, which is D5. My opponent doesn't know that. My opponent plays D6, which is good, but tips the balance again slightly in white's favour. Now I screw up with this move, inaccuracy. Now it's in black's favour, right? Knight to F3 is best. I will know that in future. And do you know what? The reason that I will know that in future is because I've gone into this amount of depth to go over this game, right? If you just click new game straight away every time, you win, you lose, doesn't matter, new game, yeah, I'll have another go. You might get the same position and you might screw up in exactly the same way that you screwed up in the last game. And that's not the way to improve, and that's not really the way to enjoy your chess more, unless that's all you want to do. Unless all you want to do is play, you know, that's fine, you can do that, okay? So that was best, okay? So I take, he takes, now I develop my knight, but I've given a slight edge to my opponent, okay? Bishop comes out, good. Knight takes the free stuff, best. Queen there is best. Knight back is best, cool. That's a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Well, let's see. Knight blocks, okay, and the threat is gone. Okay, but that's not what happened. He does that, not great. I blocked with the bishop, but that's also best. Huh, okay, cool. So I shouldn't have been too concerned. That's a mistake. Why is it a mistake? Stockfish? Hanging piece. Oh, okay. And again, the threat is neutralized. No worries. That was fine. Okay, but that's not what happened in the game. So I should have captured the free stuff. Yeah, and that would have solved my problems. But I was too worried. What was I worried about? I don't know, I can't remember. Look at these series of blunders it's given me. Like 4 blunders and 10 moves. Wow. Okay, so that's a mistake. Queen takes is best. All right. Now it's got white plus 2.5. Grab the free bishop. Okay, but white's still good. Even though I'm up a piece and attacking his queen, white's still good. Best move. See, look at all these best moves, and then it says my opponent comes out with like 25, 26 accuracy. Screw you, Stockfish. You don't get it. You don't get chess, Stockfish. Okay, that's an inaccuracy. What should he have done? Okay, defend the bishop. Oh yeah, because I guess the bishop has actually attacked twice and defended only once. So that was a mistake. Okay. This is a blunder. This is the first of my series of blunders, is it? Yeah, so as I said in the video, this is my idea. I just want to eliminate these pieces. I was just too scared. That's a mistake. So what should I have done instead of this? D4, right? Okay, that would have been a good move because it liberates my bishop, liberates my queen, thereby also maybe liberating my rook. You know, I could have played king d2, rook's on the back rank. What's not to like? I'm up a piece. Should have been good. Okay, we can improve. So, that was played. That's a mistake. What should he have done? Take the pawn. Okay. Now this is excellent. Good stuff. Even better would have been knight back to f2. Okay. But still, and now I'm actually doing slightly better. Oh yeah, no, I was winning all that bit. Huh. Okay, but I do this, he takes that. Now this is a blunder. So I should have taken the bishop by the sound of it. Yeah. Which was my idea all along, and I don't know why I didn't do it. But was I worried about that? No, because I could have defended with the knight. Okay. So it's showing me how much I miss in a game. Okay, best, that's excellent, but best is probably what? Rook back? Rook back, huh? Allowing bishop takes, bishop takes. Okay. But I block with that, then he checks me, then I come back, and again my king is nowhere to go. And if he can get his knight to there, that'd be smothered mate, wouldn't it? Okay, that's a mistake. And now I'm -8. Wow. Best move would have been probably e4 again. Oh no, d4, no, d3. Alright. Okay, so, wow, blunder. -26. He's saying this is completely winning. Why? Takes, have to move. Okay. Well, you see, but that's what a computer can see, right? Anyway, I think that's a good point to leave it, right? So, yes, the computer is showing me how I can improve, and that's what a computer is for, okay? But, guys, ignore this crap. 32 accuracy for my opponent, right? That was an awesome game, right? I know that Ed, OT Milker on chess.com, was actually watching at the time from the US. He sent me a message saying, what an excellent game, what a brilliant game. You just don't let the engine criticize your play, right? It doesn't understand art, it doesn't understand sport, it doesn't really understand chess. All it understands is algorithms and heuristics, okay? So, you know, when you have a game and the computer says, oh, you weren't very good in that game, say, screw you, Stockfish, you don't understand chess. I do, I love it, you don't, you can't love it, because you're just a calculator, all right? So that's it. Message for the day, over and out.